Hello everyone, I'm Dr. K. Let's be real. When you first hear the term blockchain, it sounds super high-tech and complicated. But here's the thing. It boils down to two simple parts: blocks and a chain. Yep, just block plus chain. To really get it, let's break these two pieces down first. We'll start with what a block is, then move to the chain. Let's use a made-up scenario to make this concrete. Imagine you live in a small town called Polo Town. Think a tight-knit community where everyone knows each other. In this town, there's no cash, no credit cards, no Venmo or PayPal. Every single transaction relies on the townsfolk keeping track of it themselves. Say there's a guy named Xiao Ming who runs a meat stand, and Lao Wang, a regular in town, buys $15 worth of beef from him. We'll use US dollars here to keep it familiar. Once they finish the deal, Xiao Ming and Lao Wang yell over the town's community loudspeaker. You know, the one they use for town meetings or lost pets. Heads up, everyone! Lao Wang's balance goes down by $15, Xiao Ming's goes up by 15. Anyone who hears this grabs their own notebook, their personal ledger, and jots that transaction down right away. At first, this system works. Sort of. But problems pop up fast. First, it's a huge hassle. You can't just go about your day. You have to drop everything to write down every transaction. Second, most of these transactions don't even involve you. Why waste time writing down someone else's grocery run? So the townsfolk sit down, talk it over, and decide, let's pick one person to be the full-time bookkeeper. Their only job? Track every transaction for the town. From that point on, all of Polo Town's transactions go through this bookkeeper. During the day, they jot every deal into a big official notebook, the master ledger. By evening, they tally up all the day's transactions, double-check the numbers, and then post a copy of the day's ledger on the town's community bulletin board. You know, the one outside the general store where everyone posts flyers for yard sales or bake sales. People wander over, compare the bulletin board copy to their own notes to make sure it's right. And if everything checks out, they copy the full day's ledger into their own notebooks to keep it home. That way, everyone can verify the numbers without dropping their own tasks to track every little deal. Here's where blocks come in. Following this routine, Polo Town gets a new full ledger every single day. Like, there's February 10th's ledger, February 11th's ledger, February 12th's ledger. Each one stands on its own, covering all transactions from that day. Those daily ledgers? That's exactly what a block is in blockchain. A block is just a collection of transactions from a specific time frame. If you track transactions once a day, you get one block per day. If you track them every 10 minutes, like some real blockchain systems do, you get a block every 10 minutes. Now let's talk about the chain. Let's say Lao Wang starts the day with $200 in his account. That day, he earns $30 mowing lawns, spends $50 on Xiao Ming's beef, and drops another $10 on a six-pack of soda at the corner store. By the end of the day, his balance is $205. The next morning, when the bookkeeper starts the new day's ledger, they write $205 at the very top. That's Lao Wang's starting balance for the day. Suddenly, yesterday's ledger, block, and today's ledger, block, are linked. Yesterday's final balance is today's starting point. That connection? That's the chain in blockchain. Okay, so we get blocks and chains now. But there's an obvious question. The bookkeeper is working all day, every day. How do they get paid? No one's gonna do that job for free. The townsfolk figure this out too. They make a new rule. For every transaction the bookkeeper tracks, they get a $1 fee as a reward. If there are 500 transactions in a day, that's $500 for the bookkeeper. Now they've got a reason to show up and do the job right. But guess what? A new problem crops up. Lao Wang realizes he's out there mowing lawns all day for $30, while the bookkeeper just sits and writes stuff down and makes $500. That feels unfair, and he's not the only one who thinks so. Soon, half the town is jealous and wants to be the bookkeeper. But you can't have 10 people all tracking transactions. They'd all write different things, and the ledgers would be a total mess. So the townsfolk hash out a solution. Every morning, they hold a simple contest to pick that day's bookkeeper, something everyone can play fair. Here's the rule. Everyone who wants the job flips a coin 20 times. Whoever gets the most heads wins and becomes the bookkeeper for the day. It's a totally neutral game. No one has an advantage, and everyone agrees it's fair. This process? In blockchain terms, that's a consensus mechanism. A way for everyone in the network to agree on who gets to update the ledger. Wait, we're not done yet. The ledger's posted on the bulletin board, but some people live on the edge of town. Driving or walking all the way to the general store every day just to copy the ledger is a pain. How do they fix that? Easy. They ask their neighbor, who lives closer, to share their copy, and that neighbor asks their neighbor and so on. Before you know it, the ledger spreads from person to person. No one needs to go to the bulletin board. This is exactly how a peer-to-peer, P2P network works. Think how you might share a movie or music file directly with a friend. No middleman needed. In this network, every person in town is both a receiver, they get the ledger from someone, and a sender, they pass it to someone else. Each person here is called a node, a fancy word for a member of the network. Now you might be thinking, what if someone tries to cheat? Like, what if Lao Wang looks at his ledger, sees he spent $15 on beef and thinks, I don't want to pay that. So he erases that line from his notebook? Would that work? Nope, because everyone in town has a copy of the same ledger. If Lao Wang changes his own notebook, everyone else's copy still says he spent $15. As soon as someone compares ledgers, which they do every day, they'll spot the lie. To get away with cheating, Lao Wang would have to sneak into every single person's house and change their ledger too. Good luck with that. So the ledger is basically unchangeable. This is a huge difference from how things work in real life. Think about a regular company. Only a few people, the accountant, the cashier, maybe the boss, have access to the official books. If they all team up, they can easily change the numbers, hide expenses, inflate profits, whatever. But in Polo Town, everyone has the same ledger. It updates every day, and there's no single person in charge of controlling it. That's what we mean by decentralized. No central authority calling the shots. Let's recap the key things that make this system, aka blockchain, work. Information spreads peer-to-peer, P2P. People share the ledger directly with each other. No middleman. Everyone has their own copy of the ledger. That's a distributed ledger. We pick who updates the ledger with a fair contest, a consensus mechanism. The person updating the ledger gets paid, fees plus rewards to do it right. The ledger is almost impossible to cheat because everyone has the same copy, and each day's ledger is linked to the one before it. To sum it all up, blockchain is just a ledger system that everyone helps maintain. No single person or company is in charge. Its core superpowers are: you can't just change the numbers whenever you want. Everyone can see the same information, it's transparent. The data is reliable, since everyone has the same copy. No central authority calling the shots, decentralized. Blockchain isn't some mysterious black tech. It's just a way for a group of people to keep track of things together, without having to trust a single leader. That's why it's used for all kinds of stuff, from sending money across borders, without banks, to tracking shipments and supply chains, so you know where your Amazon package really is, to even making digital art or games. Now keep in mind, this is the basic version. There are more technical details, things like hash algorithms, fancy math that keeps blocks secure, proof of work, POW, or proof of stake, CPOS, more complex consensus mechanisms used in real blockchains, or public-private key systems, how you keep your digital money safe. But those are deep dives. Save them for later if you're curious. Alright, that's it for today's breakdown. If you like this video, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment, save it for later, and, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. That triple support, like, save, subscribe, helps me keep making these explainers. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.